Hi buddies, we're going to transform the summer tank top that has, as you can see, a standard tank top back, and we're going to transform it into, with the same pattern, we're going to transform it into this really pretty racer back. You can lace this up if you would like, instead of putting the lace. You can lace it up, you can just chain, make a long chain and then lace it up, or we can make a pretty lacy pattern. And it's real simple to do. Since the straps are left unattached until the very end of this pattern, you just will move the strap, you'll mark the middle, and you will move the strap from here over to one stitch on either side of the middle. And this is all done before you finish the trim. See how on this it has a tiny little lighter trim on it? That is continued from the front. You left your yarn attached here, and you would continue. This is where you ended and you left your yarn attached. You would put 2 single crochets using your smaller hook. You do 2 single crochets in each stitch of the jersey material. And you will continue this. You will continue the 2 single crochets around in each stitch of the till you'll continue this way until you get to this right here, until you get to this spot right here, until you get to this marker. I will meet you at this stitch. This is I'm done crocheting around here. I only put 1 stitch in on mine because this is a demonstration model, and for visual purposes I'm using a much bulkier yarn, but yours should have 2 in it, 2 single crochets in each stitch. So I'm going to get over here, and it is attached right here. So I'm going to get to this corner, and don't worry, sew it down at the very end because it will just look nicer. I just clip it together. Okay, so let's let the camera focus. And then, as you can see, my corner is here. I don't want to work in my center stitch. If you have 2 between, then don't work in either one of those. I don't want to work in either one of those. I want to be on one side of one side of my center stitch, and I will just be continuing on with a single crochet. Let me make it show you how this works. Okay, so this is where it's clipped, and just move your clips or whatever. You don't need to sew it down till the very end. Okay, and then this part is just as you would imagine. I'm unclipping it so that you can get a better look. Now, I am going to, this will be attached later, I am going to, in yours with the less bulky yarn, you would want to do 2 in here. I'm do that for demonstration purposes. And then the other strap was clipped here. Can you see that? Yeah, all right, I'm letting it focus. And you would single crochet. You would oh, sorry, I should have left it attached. You would single crochet and attach this at the very corner. Okay, And because these will be similar colors, it will look nice and neat. Don't just be brave and keep going. If you want to pull out a couple of stitches, go right ahead or clip it on better. But you continue up. And I'm going to reattach it here just so it doesn't get away from me. And you continue up so you can see. This is how this will look. Let me let you get a good look at that. And I will be continuing in the trim. This is turned, sorry. I'll be continuing in the trim all the way to here. Here, where I started was over here. And then I would slip stitch across here to end up where I started. And then you can cut and tie it off. This part is finished. I will meet you here. Okay, so I've finished. I've come around. Let me clip this again. I've come around. I've made a trim on this entire thing. And the only thing I've done different than the pattern is my strap placement. And it does say in the pattern to pick out your undergarment and place your straps over that. So you would be picking out an undergarment, which would be a RACERBACK style undergarment. And then you would crochet around. So nothing is different other than the placement of my straps is different from the pattern. So here I am. I'm not quite where I started. You want to go all the way around to where you started. And sorry about that. This is just bulky yarn. So when you get to this part, this part, this is where you want to start slip stitching. And I always slip stitch the edges, well, almost always, unless I need more stretch, just to keep them from getting too stretched out. And so anything I can possibly stitch across, slip stitch across, I do. I seem to have no problems with washing any of them, wearing them. They're nice and sturdy. And so you slip stitch all the way across to where you started, which is here. Let me see. Boy, this white isn't working great. Slip stitch all the way across to where you started, and then you can cut and tie it off. Now I'm going to deconstruct this so that you can see where we started and how it works up. It's up to you how far you want to work up. I did about 10 stitches of the jersey, which would be which might be 20 stitches for your cotton. Okay, and I'm deconstructing this, and I just slip stitch up the sides. I'm deconstructing it. It's all just a double crochet, and then the very bottom, you want this filled in right here. You want this filled in pretty well, and you're going to start down here. This is where you're going to start, and this is where you're going to attach your yarn. But to cover your bra, you do need a lot of coverage right in here, and then you can make it more open as you go up. So that's where we started. We will do the same thing with the bright prototype that I use. I didn't realize the white was going to be glaring, but we're going to switch. We're going to use a red just so you can see. So it won't matter how many stitches you're going to decide. You want to go up the same amount of stitches on each side, but you're going to decide, depending on what your bra is like, your RACERBACK bra is like, you're going to decide how far you want to go up. You just need to be able to get your head through this part, and you can go up as far as you want. You can even go up further than you think and pull out a row. The rows, it's just a few rows. So this is easy enough. You would just want to attach your yarn here. I'm going to do it quickly. And remember, this yarn needs to be this part needs to be filled in pretty well. So I'm going to begin by pulling this loop through, and I'm going to double crochet, and then I'm going to go back in and make a cluster here. I'm going to make a cluster of 5. That's just what works for me. So you just double crochet, cluster. Now see how this has to attach to both sides. This will be the only place you will be doing it this way. This starting row will be different than the other ones, just because we need this part filled in really well. So for a double crochet is 2 to 3 stitches. I know sometimes it's 3. This one we're going to go up. We're going to skip 1, 2. We're going to skip 3. That means we have to do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to slip stitch to turn our work. And we're going to, this is the only place we're going to do this, and we're going to single crochet across the top. Oops, let you get a better look. Across the top of the shell we just made. This is the only place that isn't real lacy looking because of my desire to keep it filled in really well. Now, however many we skipped over here is the same amount we need to skip on the other side. And this is the only place you'll kind of need some judgments. So here we skip 1, 2, 3. We're going to want to do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch into this one. Now, how you build in an inset, technically this would be somewhat of an inset. If we wanted to inset it completely, we would slip stitch into the back or front loops, and then it would be set back. But we're going to do it in both loops because I like it to be have a lot of strength through here. I'm just really hard on my clothes. That's why I do everything in cotton that I can, and jersey, and I try to use a 4-weight, and nothing's very delicate. So now to do the next row, if you can take a look at this, to do the next row, you're going to have to move up to do the next row. Otherwise, it would be slanted. So to get it to go straight across, you've got to move up, and that's really easy to do. Now these I suggest having them the same colors because your slip stitches will show. So whatever you trim this in, I suggest you do the back in, and you'll see why the slip stitches can look a little awkward. So I'm going to slip stitch up 2. I slip stitched to anchor the side, and I'm going to slip stitch up 2. And the reason we skipped 2 here is because we had this extra row of single crochet across. So this time I'm just doing 2, and I'm slip stitching and turning. Let me get this straight for you. Okay, and I'm slip stitching and turning, and you see how these show, but they wouldn't if they were the same color. Now this part you don't want to chain. It seems like you should do a chain here. It seems like you should do a chain here, but you shouldn't. You're going to want to cross right over. You're going to want to wrap your yarn, and you're going to want to go in this middle of, this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to want to go in the middle of this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the middle would be right here into this shell. You would skip two stitches. And if it's hard to tell, don't worry about it. This part is really loose on mine, but it's not going to show on yours. Let me do it a little bit. I found that make sure this loop isn't too big before you go in the middle of this. So you're going to want to do a cluster in the middle of this cluster, but to make it more open, the only thing you're going to do is just chain 1 in the middle, and you're going to put in 2. You're going to 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and that's it. I'm an amateur, we can tell. Okay, now we're going to attach it to the other side. It's going to need to get wider, but not yet. So we skipped one on here, so we're going to skip one on here and slip stitch. And as you can see how one side is slip stitched up and the other side is open? That won't show because these will be the same colors when you do it. I'm just doing different colors for demonstration purposes. So as you can imagine, I slip stitched to anchor it. And this does get wider as it goes up, and we're going to begin to do that. So you just want to slip stitch up 2, 1, 2. Because if you began down here, it would be turned. It would be angled. So we have to bring ourselves up here. We have to move up to attach it. So if we were doing a single crochet along here, we would just move up 1. We're a double, a half double or a double, we're going to move up 2. So we slip stitch so that we can turn our work. We're going to turn our work, so I'm going to turn it so you can see. Now you're going to wrap the yarn immediately, and we're going to go into this single crochet. We're going to go into this chain space of the cluster. And I'm going to make another cluster of the same size because my straps really aren't getting wider yet, getting further apart. And that just depends on the size you're going to do. So again, I'm doing the same exact cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, all in the middle of this, and then the next one is above it in the chain 1 space. And that's all I'm doing. Now, again, I have to skip 1 and go up 1 and anchor it. So I'm going in and I'm going to slip stitch and anchor it. So see how you move, how you slip stitch up one side and the other one you're skipping. This won't show because these will be the same color of yarn. And that's why whatever you trim it in, you need to put in the inset in, or this would show. So again, I have to move up to make the next one. And the next cluster for me is going to have to be bigger. So I'm going to slip stitch up 2, turn my work, and as you can see, it's my straps are starting to get further apart. So I'm going to want to put more in, but I want to continue this pattern in the middle here. And this has to be, you're going to want this filled in like this, exactly like this. And then you're going to want it to get more open as it goes up. It's much prettier that way. So in this one, since I need it wider, but I still want it nice and airy and lacy, I'm going to put 3 in, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then another 3 double crochets, and chain 1. Or no, I'm sorry, not. Just 3 double crochets. I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so all I did to make this wider, because my work is getting wider, is the only thing I did was add an extra leg so that these are still open and pretty and lacy. I had an extra leg to accommodate the width, to accommodate the straps that get wider as they go up. So again, I'm going to skip 1 and I'm going to slip stitch into this one. Now this is probably long, this is probably wide enough for most people. There's just one finishing remark I want to do, and we're going to slip stitch up 1 because we're going to turn and we're just going to finish this off so it doesn't get too loose and so it looks prettier. So we're going to just single crochet across the top. This will keep it from getting too stretched out. When you get to the chain 1 space, I would like to keep that looking open. So what you want to do is single crochet 2 in the chain 1 space, and then that will prop it open so that you have these pretty little heart openings. And then you're going to skip 1 and single crochet to this side, and then you've got to go up one. You don't want to slip stitch into the same one. You got to go up one and you slip stitch into this one. Now let's look at this. If you need to, during this time, if you're going to be adding things, I will just go ahead and put my yarn through the loop and tie it off like this and then continue on, just so I don't have anything pull out and I've got everything sturdy. So this is how this looks. You can go up another one. You could go up another one, but you have to make sure you have enough armhole. So there's a slip stitch on this side, it's skipped on this side, slip stitch on this side, skipped on this side. That's why you always use the same color of yarn so that part doesn't show. And that's how you can add lacy shell stitch to any racerback top. Thanks.